Hey, I'm Ange.
And I'm Beck.
And we are the Gold Diggers, because we believe there's gold found in everyone.
Everyone is unique, interesting and exciting with a great story to share.
And we aim to find it.
The question is, can we rise to the challenge and strike gold? Stay tuned to find out as we chat to today's mystery guest.
Honey, you're my sugar.
So this is how it works. One of us knows who the mystery guest is and the other one doesn't. And today it's Ange's turn to find the gold in our mystery guest, Michelle Wilson. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Michelle. It's
Hi,
good to get
Ange.
to know you.
It's good to meet you.
I'm so pleased we finally got you on the show. You've been on my mind for a while.
Sometimes I wonder why. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a hoot.
Is that kind of a weird stalkery type of...
Yeah. No,
Should we be concerned?
We like to chat, don't we?
We do, yes, and we'll explain more later.
Right.
But first of all, I'll just tell you a little bit about Michelle. Michelle is 53, but she feels like she's 35.
She looks like she's 35.
Yes. And she is married with 3 children. 2 of those children are twins.
Ah,
Yes,
we've had a few
we've
people
had a
with
few.
twins on
Really?
here.
It has
Yeah.
been a topic,
It
hasn't
has,
it?
definitely.
Yes.
That's exciting. So you're the twin.
No,
You've
I've
got 2 twins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has twins.
Okay, 3 kids,
Yes.
2 twins.
Twin girls?
One of each. Boy,
One of
girl,
each.
twins. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Ah.
And an older boy.
Yeah,
Yes.
nice.
So...
You kicking me out?
Yep.
All right.
off you
I'll
go.
see you soon.
That's
See
all
ya.
you're getting. Okay, Ange is out of the room. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, darling. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So for our listening audience and our watching audience, Michelle and I met through a mutual friend, Natalie
That's
Caston.
right. Yes, I went to school with Nat.
Yes, and I became part of your Business Bells group,
Yeah.
which is pretty much a whole lot of you girls who went to school together. Whereabouts?
At Emmanuel Lutheran College.
Yes.
Yes.
And you're all still friends and you're all still
Yeah.
amazing businesswomen.
Oh, yeah. I like to think we good people stick together.
Yeah. It's great to be a part of that group and I love the conversation that flows.
Oh, we
here
do
and
have
there.
fun.
It's good. So you are an amazing woman.
Oh,
And
thanks.
you are the manager of The Rocks at Yandina, which
Yeah.
is a wedding venue. And you are a wedding planner and events manager. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
Yep. Been in events for a long time.
Yes.
And then specialise in weddings now.
Yeah, so you run a very excellent,
I run a relaxed ship.
yes.
Yes.
So it's very popular, isn't it?
Yeah, well, when I took over in 2017, it really wasn't anything. It was just a sort of a closed down restaurant.
Yeah.
So the gentleman I work for and with
Yeah.
had a vision, and together we created what we have now. So
Amazing. Very successful business.
Yeah. Yes,
And
it's very popular.
you have an Italian heritage.
That's right. Both my parents Italian.
Yes, which
So
I love
daughter
hearing.
of immigrants.
Yes, I love hearing all your Italian stories, so we'll bring some of them up. And you've had a very adventurous life with travel
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of other
That's
fun-
how I met my husband. Yeah, we're both itchy feet people.
Yes. Okay. Well, we are going to delve more into your story. So let's get Ange back in and
Okay.
she can start digging. Ange is back.
Yes. Okay. Oh, I didn't even think about what I should ask you to start off with. So, what is a most embarrassing moment?
A most embarrassing
Yes.
moment. Oh my gosh.
Let's
I
start
probably
there.
have too many to recount. I am a talker,
Yes.
and I sometimes talk before I think. So,
Oh, you're in good company then.
so look, most embarrassing. I think in my industry, I'll stick to my industry, something with work related. So I probably have done a commando role or two, trying to save my brides from embarrassment.
See, commando means no underwear.
No, commando roll.
I'm like, so you're telling brides to go commando?
Yeah, some of them don't mind. But no, commando roll, trying to save them from embarrassment or tripping. So I'll dive into underneath a wedding gown and lift it up before they trip over it.
Oh. Right.
And when I got up one time, I went, nobody saw that. And everyone's like, woo. So you just walk
not
away
as commando
going,
as you thought.
Not about me.
They probably didn't even see you. They're too
They
dazzled by the
saw
bride.
me. They saw me and rolled down
Sounds
the
like
hill.
they cheered.
Yes, they cheer away. But,
So this sounds like some kind of work-related incident.
Yes.
So what is your work?
I am an event planner, but I specialise in weddings.
Okay.
Yes.
Local here on
Very
the
much so,
Sunshine Coast?
yes. I manage a venue and have done so this last venue that I'm at since 2017.
Okay. And where are you at?
I'm in Yandina, so it's called the Rocks Yandina.
Yes. Okay.
And it used to be a really famous restaurant in the Sunshine Coast back in the 90s. So it was purpose-built as a restaurant on 80 acres on the river, and they used to have the cruise, Maroochydore, had some cruises which would cruise up the Maroochydore River. They would deposit their guests there. They would have jazz and oysters on the lawn, and they would have lunch, dinner, whatever it is, and then bring guests back. But you could also drive there.
Okay, I like a good party. Now, I'm somebody that loves to plan events and that. And we're probably a bit renowned for having some of the most elaborate parties.
Good.
So, you know, my next question may challenge you a bit. What is the most elaborate party you've ever?
The most elaborate party or wedding?
Wedding. Yeah, well, to me, it's the same thing.
So I just assisted with the Steps Charity Gala in Caloundra. That was 380 people that we had to set up for. So that was probably the most elaborate. The most fun involved wedding I have done probably is an Indian wedding that we have done because there are usually 3-day affairs.
Wow.
And we were one of the 3 days. So they involve lots and lots of intricate little details, from fireworks to animals coming to forward costume changes, decor till the cows come home.
Yeah, I've been to an Indian wedding.
They're fun, aren't they?
And they're colourful.
They're so
and
fun.
they're lively and
So when you say they last 3 days, what's the process? Is it at 3 different places?
Yeah,
or?
usually 3 different places. Yeah, they'll have a traditional, they'll have a Western, if they're getting married here in Australia or Western culture. So they'll have to do very traditional, very Western, and then the family will do their little thing as well.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So what got you into event planning?
I've always travelled a lot, and in travel, you know, I travelled and then I became very corporate and then I travelled again. So corporate was me for many years, but not me. In my travels, you know, you learn, you do the bar, you do waitressing, you do all those quick and dirty jobs that you can get some quick money from.
Yeah, while you're travelling.
While travelling, yeah. And I always ended up either managing or, can you come back and organise this party? Or we've got 100 guests, can you look after them? So I always seem to be able to corral a group of people together and make sure that the rest of the evening went stress-free.
Yeah.
And from that, it just morphed into my sales manager background for airlines and cruise companies.
Wow. Okay.
So very corporate in Sydney for many years. And even though I like being behind a desk and I like bossing people around, I'd rather be hands-on.
Yeah.
So left that industry after reaching the pinnacle for me, which was national sales manager for a cruise company.
Wow.
And flying to, you know, the States for a lunchtime meeting and home straight after the meeting was not my idea of fun.
Wow.
So I decided that corporate was done for me. Yeah. In that time, I also worked for airlines, going to hotels in different countries to select hotels and to, you know, create a package.
Were you like one of those mystery customers that would go sort of?
No, they would know. They would know we're coming. Usually,
I've always dreamed of being that. I've
done a mystery shopper before.
Have you?
I have done mystery shopping before when I was pregnant with my first child. When I was just so bored at home.
Yeah.
But that was things like going to Red Rooster and order a chicken sandwich and see what you
I'd love to be like one of those restaurant critics. That's it. And then you go in and, you know, you're dressed really daggy and you just pretend. Anyway, that sounds like
Yeah,
fun.
that would be fun.
You should totally do that. For fun.
Except I'm no good at cooking, so I'm probably not the best judge of that. So you've obviously done a lot of travelling.
Yes.
Where have you been to every continent all over the world?
Not South America, not Russia, but pretty much I would say yes, a lot of other places. So so backpacking. You're regular in Australia. We have our regular gap year in England too. Do your gap year travel, and I stayed. I have Italian heritage, so I spent a lot of time in Italy learning the language. Getting to know my family over there a lot better. Came home, did the corporate life for many years, and then went, no, I need to travel again.
Yeah.
Did some Asia travel, came home, went and worked in bars and restaurants on Bondi Beach, started managing a few of those, and that's where my love of events came in, and started creating party events like, dance clubs and dance parties and New Year's Eve parties and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm pretty good at this. I could keep going with this.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take your number because I think you're going to be a good person to know.
Yeah, and then that time is when I met my husband.
Yeah.
And my husband was in theatre. He's an American.
Yeah.
And he was travelling the world with a theatre group. And I'm not sure if you know them. They're Stomp. So they bang on the percussion, rubbish bin lids, and they're very big-time percussionists.
You have just pricked my ears up. Because percussion is a big theme for myself.
There's
and
drumming, drumming and piano, and yes, I've heard.
I am aware they use the
rubbish bin
lids, and okay. So your husband,
he was stage manager for Stomp and created a lot of their instruments that they perform with.
Wow!
And there was at the time when I met him, there was a show in New York, 2 shows traveling America, and 2 shows traveling Europe and the world.
Yeah.
And I met him when he came out here, and we had this whirlwind, hi-bye kind of romance. And my mum was the one who said to me, and I brought them all home to my mum because my mum is a quintessential Italian nonna. She must feed everybody. She must make everybody feel comfortable and come spend the weekend at our house.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'd met Will, my husband, and I invited 4 or 5 of them to come up for the weekend and spend the weekend with my parents. Strange thing to do, but and my mum was like, "Oh, he's nice." And I'd come out of a 7-year very tumultuous relationship with a heroin addict.
Right.
So I'd lived 7 years of heart-wrenching life.
Yeah.
Where I worked and worked. That was my corporate jobs. When I worked many corporate jobs and dealing with the personal life and the corporate, I was just not happy.
That's something that you've had to kind of overcome and go through and deal with along the way. But then you've just got yourself out of that and then got your life on this track that you wanted it to go and embrace it with all your heart.
It happens when you see somebody wasting their life, and it doesn't matter how much love you give somebody, it's not enough if they haven't got it for themselves.
Was that here in Australia?
It was here in Australia, yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing you actually got out of that situation because some people can get very trapped in that because
hard.
they're so dependent on you in many ways. And
It was the hardest thing I ever did in my life.
yeah.
Ever.
How do you think that changed you? What like do you feel like you grew through that?
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
One, it showed me that I'm resilient, that I'm not influenced by, because of course as a parent, my parents were so scared that I would fall down that avenue.
How old were you at the time?
I was 22.
Okay, early
Yeah.
20s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very young to be
Yeah.
experiencing that.
Yeah, and it was a horrible existence looking back.
Yeah.
But in the time, I was like, "That's fine. I got this. I know what I'm doing."
Was he
And
much older than you?
He was
or-
10 years older than me.
Did you feel trapped?
I felt like he was my bird that had a broken wing that I was trying to mend their wing so he could fly again. I felt like I couldn't leave for a very long time, and I had a lot of help from friends to actually make that break. And it was about 6 or 7 months later that I met my husband, and I so didn't want to be in a relationship at
And
the
you
time.
ceased all contact with him?
He's no longer with us.
Yeah. Right.
He was never gonna.
Survive.
No.
Yeah.
Which is part of me goes, I'm not guilty that I walked. It was hard, and I still see the visions of those farewells. But I knew that I had done all I could.
Yeah, yeah.
Done all I
absolutely.
could, so I had no regrets. You know, the family, his family and I were in contact up until not long ago, you know, still, yeah. So, yeah, it was, you do all you can. And I knew that.
It's good that you knew when that was it.
Yeah.
That's it, I'm done. I have to get out of this.
I had to.
Because it's either you're trying to pull them out, which very rarely happens, or they take you down, which is often more so the case.
That tied into my corporate world too, because I was with him when I was very corporate. So I had to be one persona at home, like dealing with that side of life, the really awful side, and then coming to board meetings where you'd have to pretend to be, you know, you've got your shit together, but in your head you're going, you know, is he going to live today?
Yeah.
And when I ended that was when I ended, it was the same severance. I ended my corporate life and ended that relationship. That was that chapter closed, done. I've done that, tick. Let's move.
So if somebody is in that situation, what keys can you give to somebody to get to that point where you can decide, okay, that's it, I'm out of this, I'm done?
When you think in 10 years' time, do I still want to be here where I am?
Yeah.
Do I still want to be doing the exact same thing? And that's all I kept saying to myself was, if I keep going, yes, I'll have an existence and I'll create a life for me. I had two different lives. I was the at-home life with him and I was my work self. And neither of them were fulfilling me in any way. So I think it's up to you to go, okay, in 10 years' time, yes, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
Because there's always that sense of hope. Oh, they'll come right. They'll come right. They'll
And
come,
7
they'll
years
come out
was
of this.
7 years was
That's
enough
a long
time.
Yeah.
That
And the timing of the breakup was perfect, wasn't it? Because then you met your husband.
I met my husband. Well, I went. That was when I started managing and started doing events,
Yeah.
and that got me my juices going again.
Yeah.
And like, there's so much more I want to do.
Yeah.
And I hadn't travelled hardly at all in that time as well, which was yeah.
So how do you feel you grew through that?
I knew that I was a very strong person to not fall down that trap, to not feel like you know, we had a lovely life. It was, don't get me wrong, you know, he was a very he's a very well-meaning man, but couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
So by watching him not being able to help himself made me feel, you know, when you feel really tall. You know,
I am pretty tall, but yeah.
When you feel sometimes like you feel like you're standing straight, and
Yeah.
sometimes you feel like you're slouching. I just remember going, I am so straight. I am just, you know, I'm stronger than what he wants me to be.
Yeah.
And I have so much more to offer than just this little world that, you know, we've now created.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
So I met Will. I went, oh, he's fun. We could, you know, I could see myself having some fun with him. And he said, come on tour. So I said, well, I'd like to, but I need to earn a living. So I decided to learn massage and travel and tour the world with them as their masseuse.
Wow.
Just so that I could be with the boy that I wanted to be with.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we travelled for 2 years, Europe, Asia, everywhere.
You've lived a very varied and
Colourful.
adventurous life.
Yeah.
So what are probably some of the standout experiences you've had?
I think touring is amazing because we toured with 22 people. It was like a family. So you'd have a week in every city you went to. And it was the same family. Like, you know, we travelled together. We did everything together. We ate, slept, breathed, played, danced, performed.
You'd really bond, wouldn't you, as
Yeah.
a group? Yeah.
And in that time, I also got the luxury of looking after the group as company manager a couple of times when the company manager would go away, which is quite unheard of because normally you're trained to do that position.
Yeah.
But because I was part of the fold and they knew I was capable, they're like, well, it's, you know, here you go. We're going to be in Belgium next week, but the company manager can't come. Can you take over? So that, again, fed into my event planning brain.
But you would have been great because you said before you love bossing people
Yes.
around. So you could have just bossed them around.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And they knew me all anyway, so
Yeah.
it was all part of the family. And,
Yeah.
so I was very lucky, very lucky.
So then you met your husband over here.
Yes.
And did travel then stop?
No, so we went and toured for 2 years together. And then when he decided he'd had enough, I could have kept on going, but he'd been doing it for 7 or 8 years by then, and he wanted to put some roots down. And I remember saying to him, "I will not live in America." And he goes, okay.
What part of America is he from?
He's from Washington, D.C.
Okay, yeah.
And all the East Coast.
So he was okay with that.
Yeah, he was, and he came from New York, and I was like, I'm not an American. I love it, and we've travelled there a lot, and a lot of my family are there. But I just didn't want to. I didn't want to live there. I wanted to live somewhere a bit different. And we thought we would live in Spain, of all places. And we came home to visit my parents, and decided to get married on April Fool's Day, 2000.
Did they think you were joking?
They did. We said, because we had to get special compensation to get married quickly, because normally you have to wait a month, sign the registry with the celebrant, and we're like 2 weeks' time, let's get married in 2 weeks and surprise everybody.
Wow.
And tell everybody we've just arrived back in the country, we're going to have a welcome home party.
Yeah.
And we got married. So I had 30 of my friends around, and then my mum knew, because she had to cook everything. And we had this little afternoon party and went, surprise, we're actually getting married.
So now, because you're a wedding planner, if you would go back to that moment, would you have planned anything differently?
Regrets.
Wow.
No regrets. I love what I do, but I'm not a white dress wedding. I've never envisaged. Oh, I can't get the word out.
Yes.
My wedding in a white dress, and I've never picked, my flowers or my venue. I've never really thought about it. I think the history I had with my previous fiance, I just never allowed myself to think that. So it was just perfect for Will and I. That was the sort of people we were. It was very spontaneous, and we're not fussy people.
Yeah. So your children are from your current husband?
Yes. Yep. All three of them. Yep. So then we got married, and then we were going to leave again because theatre on the Sunshine Coast is non-existent, or back, in 2000. So we were going to leave again and go find jobs in theatre, and then I fell pregnant.
Okay.
And I said to him, I think the Sunshine Coast might be the place to raise children.
Yeah.
And he was so happy, because that's all he wanted.
Oh.
That's all he wanted to do was plant some seeds and stay put.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've been here for how long now?
So since 2000.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Since 2000, we got our house and
so from that point on, you've then been in event planning the whole time?
No. So then we my husband had to buy himself a job. So we bought a rental role from a real estate agent.
Right. Okay.
And Inga Hall, who is part of a group that we belong to, her mum owned this rental role, so we reconnected with a high school friend of mine, and Will bought this maintenance rental role, and we went, okay, this is a bit boring. We need to, jazz this up a bit. And he learnt to become a builder, and we just ran this little micro business for many years.
Well, I love about the Sunshine Coast, but I just love it when, you're from Italy, you've met a man from America, you've settled in Australia. The world really is a small place, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And we're all connected somehow.
It's so small, the world. I can't tell you the number of times I've travelled the world and I've bumped into people who either I know or know people that I know, or have been in scenarios that we have in common. It's just, the world is a very small place when you're a certain type of person.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you put yourself out there.
So how has settling been for you? Because you've been somebody that's travelled a lot, from just a moment's notice, and you're in a different country, and life has been one big adventure, to now having your kids and putting down your roots and settling in. How's that been for you?
It's a good question, that, because it depends who you ask. My husband would never, he won't even leave the house we built to live in. I've been wanting to buy, sell, move here, move there. I would continue to travel. But I guess having family in the States, we made it a point that every year we would do a holiday either to the States or somewhere else, international. I was raised with adventurous parents. My father was one of the first people. He built a motorcycle in Italy in the 50s. And travelled on this little tiny motorcycle, him and his best friend, down to Iraq.
Wow.
So in the 50s.
That's a long way.
On this little tiny, almost Vespa-like motorcycle.
Wow.
So I come from adventurous stock.
Yeah.
And my father, emigrated to Australia. They couldn't speak English, and they put roots in Darwin and, made their way down to here. But we've always travelled. And I thank my parents for giving me that love of adventure.
Yeah.
So every year we try and do something that we takes us out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's always good to push yourself.
And especially your children. It's so good to raise your children travelling. Like my oldest is 22. Since he's 18, he has just gone between Morocco, Europe, Southeast Asia, a year on Hamilton Island during COVID. He just has not stopped travelling either, and I love that for him. I absolutely love that for him.
Yeah, I just think it gives you such a wealth of knowledge and experience that you just can't get if you stay put. And you grow up more as a person, just the different experiences, the different cultures you're exposed to, different people you meet.
And you need to. The Sunshine Coast is beautiful, but we're very insular as well. It's becoming better now being multicultural. But growing up, when I was growing up here, and I came from Darwin, which was very Indigenous, a lot of Aboriginal influence, and we grew up with Italians, Greeks, Indonesians and Aboriginals. So we had a lot of culture in our life. Moving to the Sunshine Coast was white.
Yeah.
English, white people. So not a lot of diversity. And I remember being called the continental wog growing up because we were different. People would, all the kids would come to my house for sleepovers, and my parents would pour them wine as cordial. Like we had wine with water as our cordial. So all my friends loved that. They introduced them to salami.
No wonder yours was the party house.
Introduced them to different foods. And back in the, 80s, 70s and 80s, Mediterranean food wasn't as popular as it is now. So people sort of shunned, it was Chinese and Australian was what you ate.
Yeah.
So
I'm really grateful for the Italians bringing Italian food to Australia.
So am I.
It's some of my favourite food.
Yeah.
Actually, Italy's been quite a theme lately, hasn't it?
I know.
Yeah. So hearing you talk about all this Italian food and countryside.
I have a friend actually that was a really good friend at high school, and she's opened up this amazing delicatessen in northern New South Wales, and she said, I have your parents to thank for opening up my eyes as to what was out there with food. And now she runs the most incredible delicatessen.
Wow.
So, and for her to tell me 30 years later, like I've been no contact with her, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, she's like, I need to tell you something, and that's great.
Yeah. So what was your childhood like then? What age was it you moved over here?
No, I was born in Darwin, but my parents came over in 1964.
So did you very much grow up still with an Italian culture?
Very much, because Darwin was Italian and Greeks ruled Darwin.
Yeah.
And my dad was an Italian consul, so, his network of people were mostly Italians. And they made Darwin what it is. It was the frontier land. They created the multiculturalism of Darwin, the Italians and the Greeks.
Yeah.
And
I bet they had really great feasts.
Oh, absolutely. But my parents would always take us out of school many, many months of the year, and we would just jump in a van and go travelling, whether it be around Australia, whether it be through Europe, through America, through Asia.
There's just something really appealing about that free spirit. That let's just jump in a car and go.
Yeah.
Let's just jump on a plane. Let's go and visit this country.
And just be homeschooled that way, And you can learn so much more travelling than you can at a school. And that's been our philosophy with our children as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if the school says, no, you can't have time off. Well, I'm sorry, we are.
Was that mainly primary school you did that?
Yes, mainly primary school. We sort of took that a bit lax. And then high school starts, and you're a bit more serious with high school. But, so my three kids.
You got a 22-year-old.
22-year-old,
and then your twins.
17.
Yeah.
So my
They're
daughter.
still at home?
They're two of them are still at home. And my 22-year-old actually just told me the other day, I'm coming home for a couple of months before I leave for Canada to save money. I went, okay, that's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be nice.
I know. And my twins, my daughters left high school in year 11, at the end of year 11, because school wasn't for her.
Yep.
And I'm a firm believer that school is a blip in your radar.
Yeah.
So even though education is very important, it doesn't have to be education that we know of.
Yeah.
School is not for people. You can be educated in the real world and reach astronomical heights.
Yeah.
So,
and I always think, we often focus so much on academics and you have to complete school, but we hear it so often in the podcast. People that have dropped out of school are a huge success now. It never really is an indication of the future.
No.
So,
and you could be an amazing scholar and never reach anywhere because you're good at learning, but you're not good at anything else.
Yeah.
So, and my husband came from that American background of high school, college, and then you did your years of college and then you got out into the real world. And for me, that was just a glorified 4-year party for parents to pay for college.
So you seem to be somebody that loves fun and adventure. Yeah. So how does that happen in your life now?
So we travel a lot, still travel a lot. Yeah. And then I get fulfillment from making other people have fun.
Yes.
So every single wedding job, whether it be even down to end-of-life celebrations.
Wow.
I've done quite a few of those because our venue lends itself to a very non-denominational end-of-life celebration. And I want them to come and I want them to feel happy and I want them to leave happy. But to feel happy, we're not Hollywood actors, so it has to be either ring true or it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And when people walk through my doors, I believe that when you walk through my door, we've already had a connection because otherwise you wouldn't be coming through my door.
Yeah.
I have one of the first things I say to anybody I meet for the first time coming to look at our venue for something is we have to like each other. I have to like you and you have to like me, and then we'll make something amazing and fun.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple of really, really tragic end-of-life celebrations that just heartbreaking from, babies to young men and, suicides or just accidents. But everybody who leaves there, I have so much love from family members and their guests that go, this was so beautiful that I couldn't picture doing it any other way.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I've never heard of that, those kinds of events. But I love the fact that the events that you're planning are significant moments in people's lives, and you get to implement that and be a part of that and part of the memories that they take.
Oh my gosh,
through the rest of their life.
In 60,000 people's photo albums, in all shapes.
You're the photo bomber at the back somewhere.
Like, oh, there's Michelle. Oh, there's Michelle. Oh, no, God forbid.
So if you're watching this, you may recognise Michelle.
Exactly. Oh, so many people stop me on the street and go, oh, you work at the, you run that venue, or, I have this hilarious story because I've done lots of venues around the coast.
Yeah.
And this is my end game here because this is my baby. We've nurtured it, the Rocks, from nothing to amazing status now where it's really sought after, and we're fully booked this year, nearly fully booked next year. Right. So, it's an achievement.
Yeah.
And I have so many people that I've met in other venues who are either guests at a new wedding or whatever it might be, celebration, and they go, oh, you morph wherever you are. You morph with the environment you're in. I go, no, I'm always the same, but I morph with the people that I'm with.
Yeah.
So if I'm at a high-end silver service venue where everything has to be, you're standing to attention and, everything is, I call it white picket fence, everything's perfect, then, that's what I'm going to give people because that's what they've paid for essentially. You come to my venue and we've got cobwebs, cable ties, gaffer tape, and we're on the river, and you need to like that rustic look because this is who we really are.
Yeah.
But you're going to leave wanting to not leave because nobody ever wants to leave when they have a good time anyway.
So what are the ingredients to create that occasion for people where they feel at home and they don't want to leave?
You have to feel it. So you have to truly, truly like what you do. I'm a firm believer that the most important ingredient of any event is the run with it method. So whatever happens, run with it. So it hasn't gone how you thought it would go. That's all right. We're just going to take a little detour and we're going to go down this street. But you need that to happen organically. You need to happen from the heart, and you need to make sure that if it's like that analogy of a duck. underwater.
Yeah,
The
with the
feet are
feet
running
under,
like this.
yeah.
But you're on top, you're cool, calm and collected. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to how I wanted it to go.
Yeah.
So what are the qualities, would you say, of a good event planner?
Confidence, attention to people's expressions. You have to feed off people. So if you've got somebody coming in, and I'll just, as an example, if you've got a mother of the bride who she's been picturing this day for 25 years, her daughter getting married, and it's her princess, and they're paying for everything, and they don't want anything to go wrong, and there's 3 drops of rain, and you're like, it's okay. It's just 3 drops of water. You just have to make people feel at ease that you know what you're doing and you've got this.
Yeah.
So it's a bluffs game. At the end of the day, if you are confident what you do, then you know the outcome will be perfect, and they will walk out that door going, that was the best day of my life.
Yeah, nice.
And then you fall in a heap.
And you go, oh, that was so hard.
Like, you get so drained after organising events, but if it's your constant, how
it's
do
my
you
social
avoid
life. I
Right.
always say to my husband, that's my social life. And I come home and go, I don't want to do anything for 4 days. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody.
You'd know half the coast, wouldn't you?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Between my husband and I, we probably know half the coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be like,
He's
I'm
a
all
talker.
socialed out.
Yeah.
I
And
deal
you
with
do.
people.
You do, because you need to be there. You need to anticipate what they want before they even know that they want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and attention to detail. It's all the little things.
Yeah.
Anybody can think that they're a stylist, and put together some pretty things. That's the easy part. But not everybody can work with people and so many different personalities at the exact same time.
Yeah.
I
And
so know.
families, you've always got him and her.
Yeah.
And sometimes the families have never met, and you need to make sure that these people have a good time.
Yeah. That often is the dynamic in a wedding, isn't it? That it's a whole group of people partying together. It's the first time they've met.
Yeah, and if
Or
Auntie Jo can't have any alcohol because Uncle Bill has said, please don't give Auntie Jo any alcohol, and you're just pouring this non-alcoholic wine going, here you go, have another one, don't tell anybody.
Have you got any kind of standout moments or funny moments of things that have happened at any events?
I do. I have to be very careful because, although...
You're not sharing specifics.
Yeah, you need to be very good. I've had people find me at my home address
Oh,
to
wow.
deliver flowers to me
Oh.
because of, the extra mile that I've gone to for certain weddings.
Yeah.
Which is daunting in one respect because you go, how did you find me at home? But
Yeah.
lovely as well that they went to that effort
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do so. The numerous number of cards. I just got an email the other day from a bride from 18 months ago going, look at our new baby. We just had a baby and I just needed to share with you because, you just made us feel so part of your family. I want you to share my family. So things like that are beautiful.
Yeah.
Special,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and I need to remember too, and I need to remind my staff constantly, we might do this all the time, but this is their only wedding,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
They have been planning this for years. They will think about it for years.
Yeah.
The photographs
big
will last for
day, yeah.
years. So
Yeah.
we need to remember that it's not a rinse and repeat job.
Yeah.
You might use the same flowers or the same decor, but everybody's different. So yeah, absolutely. And doing end of life celebrations changed my perspective too on how much of an impact you can make. Because doing weddings or, birthday parties or, baby showers, they're all beautiful things.
Yeah.
Doing end of life
Yeah.
celebrations can become celebrations, and you need to pull that out of the family who are so in despair
Yeah.
that you go, look, we're celebrating this
Yeah.
person's life. You had him for 30 years.
Yeah.
You might not have ever had him. So let's celebrate the fact that he was here for 30 years or that she was here for 2 years.
And to have the sensitivity around that as well.
Yeah.
Have you ever done live wakes?
live wakes.
Yeah,
Do
so
you know,
these are a
I
thing
was,
that are happening.
yeah, they are becoming more and more popular. And I have one lady, she was a lady who worked for us, and she lost her daughter at 35, and they did one, not with us, but we nutted out some ideas for her, and they did one. And from a mother's perspective, it was really hard for her to, have a live wake for her daughter.
Yeah.
But hindsight, they were so happy that they actually did that, because the person who is about to, cross over needs to see as well, the impact they've had on people. So they are becoming more popular.
Yeah. I've heard of a number of people that have been to.
I haven't done one yet, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah. So the gold, Michelle, that I see is that you've got this great resilience and stamina, and you know yourself really well. Like, to know that moment in your life where actually, if I continue down this track, my life is not going in the direction that I want it to go, because you've got this energy and fun and adventurous spirit that just wants to enjoy and embrace everything that life offers. And so it took a lot of courage and a lot of strength in that moment to actually change direction and alter your life. And as a result, then you met your husband, not long after that.
So lucky.
And that energy and love for life is outworked in everything that you do, in all the events that you're planning, because you want to duplicate that feeling for other people. And I think that's such a beautiful thing of how you give people confidence that some of the most important and significant moments in their life are in good hands. And that you can actually give them above and beyond an experience like they're going to remember for the rest of their life, but they've probably never had before. And so it's a beautiful thing that you do, and I can tell that you absolutely love it. And so how can somebody have an event or a wedding planned through you? What's your...
Oh, look, I'm all about social media.
Yeah.
So we don't ever have to advertise anywhere other than word of mouth. So social media, find us at the Roxy Andina, and just go from there.
Okay, beautiful. Well, if I need an event, hopefully I won't ever be getting married again, but it's a once in a lifetime event.
But you might need your 50th wedding anniversary.
Yes, maybe that. Or my son, when he gets married, you never know.
Right.
Yes.
I'll be coming and finding you, Michelle.
Thank you.
And we'll embrace life together.
Yes.
I love it.
Absolutely. And be calm while we do it.
Yes, that's it.
Well, I'll leave that bit to you.
Well, those little duck feet paddling underwater.
Honey, you're my sugar.
So, Ange, wasn't it lovely having Michelle in?
Yeah, doesn't she just love life? Like, she's that typical Italian. They just like... they're very expressive, aren't they? And I love the way have you ever seen Italians when they describe food?
Yes. There's always
Right.
hand gestures.
There's all these hand gestures, and it's just like, it makes you think, that sounds like the most delicious thing ever. I must have it.
Yeah, and they're so passionate about life. I love that about the Italian culture. Is they're all in it, aren't they?
Absolutely. So basically, she's made me want to get married again.
Yeah.
Or at least have a wedding again.
Or wait for Dara.
Yes. It's all going on you now, Dara.
That's it. That'll be so fun.
I love a good event. There is something really special about planning people's special moments.
Yes.
I love it, and I love surprising people with events. You know me, I've got a long history of bringing surprises. And
you put on some pretty awesome events.
there's nothing quite like wearing a nice ball dress or evening dress. Now, I went to an event, like an evening wear event.
Just recently.
This last week, right?
Yeah.
And I had this long blue sparkly dress, went down to the floor.
It was gorgeous. I saw photos.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this is what evening wear is to me.
Yeah.
But then I turn up at the event, and there were some that were dressed like that, but they were generally involved, as in they were a final, because it was an awards night, so they were a finalist, or they were going to be up on stage. Everyone else seemed to kind of like, there's this thing about the Sunshine Coast, as in like the way the British do it.
Yes.
Is a level up.
Yes.
And I have to remember that if I'm going to an event like that, I just have to level down slightly because I feel like the most overdressed person in the room and that I stand out.
I know the feeling though, because we used to live in New South Wales as children. And then when we moved to Queensland, we went to a wedding and we dressed up as we would in New South Wales, but Queensland is a little bit more casual.
They're a bit more relaxed, definitely. And I keep forgetting. And then I get disappointed because I think I love dressing up. Like I love having
me
that
too.
special moment where, you know, you've put on something that you wouldn't normally wear in your everyday.
Yeah.
And
You know what? You just have to do it and just rock it.
yes.
Like you did. You look amazing.
Well, that's what she said about being confident, right?
Yeah.
If you do it and you're the most dressed person in the room, just do it confidently.
That's it. Just own it.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
all you got to do.
And I love what she does. I was saying before off camera, that special feeling in a hospital where it's a special place of births, and it's also a place where people pass away as well. So it's like this special feeling that you get there. And I think a place like the Rocks or an events place where you're celebrating people's most important days of their lives would have a similar feeling, I would imagine. And for her to be able to be involved in giving people that most special day of their life is priceless, I think.
And like what she said about end of life celebrations.
Yeah.
I mean, that must be a new thing that's coming in. I guess we call them wakes or something like that. But
I think they're doing it instead of funerals now. So I think a lot of people are getting their loved one cremated fairly quickly, but then having an end of life celebration instead of a funeral.
yeah, I much prefer that because it's more a positive take on it, isn't it? As opposed to sort of this really morbid grief moment. It's shifting that and celebrating their life. And I like that. So, it's great that she can be a part of those moments and make them really special for people.
That's right. And her love to help people through those moments is very important as well on those days. So, on her.
So that's it for today's podcast. You'll find us on all the major podcast platforms. The podcasts come out every Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you on our socials, the Gold Diggers Podcast. Tell us about your story so we can find the gold in you.
Easy as pie, lemon, apple or cherry. Loving you is so very sweet, sweet, sweet. How can it be such a piece of cake? And your smile is the icing. Loving you is a poem. Honey, you're my sugar.